This is my salute of the video game Mortal Kombat vs. DC, which in my opinion is criminally underrated. It was overlooked back in 2008 when the video game came out, and in my opinion it's one of the best, not only is it one of the best fighting games of all time, it is one of the best Mortal Kombat games of all time. Mortal Kombat vs. DC. First off, brief history. In 2008, just like with Super Street Fighter 4, I was immediately awaiting, and unlike with Super Street Fighter 4, I was immediately waiting for the next installment in the Mortal Kombat franchise for the 7th generation. And instead of a legit sequel to Mortal Kombat Armageddon, we got a follow-up in the form of Mortal Kombat vs. DC. You know how happy I was when they crossed over the Mortal Kombat characters with the DC characters. I'm a huge fan of crossover games like Capcom vs. Marvel, Capcom vs. SNK, Capcom Fighting Game Evolution, Capcom SNK without the SNK characters. And the recent game, I didn't know this game was even released in America. That's Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. Then of course you got Street Fighter Tekken. So I'm a huge fan of the crossover video games. But one thing I like about this game took it to the next level. They didn't just bring a lot of characters in the game just for the sake of bringing them into the game with an half-ass, unexplained story. This game brought the Mortal Kombat characters and the DC characters in a really in-depth story. But right now I'm going to talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty much similar to the gameplay of the 6th generation Mortal Kombat systems. It runs on the Unreal 3 engine, and it has most of the same combos. The only difference between this Mortal Kombat game and the previous Mortal Kombat game is this Mortal Kombat game, this has a larger-than-life comic book feel. They got rid of the fighting styles and replaced it with an up-close and personal melee combat where you have to press buttons to get as many combos as you can. Another where you take the character and run them through walls. Another where you punch and they fly through the wall and you run through the wall and come over to where they are. Then of course the last one when you knock the guy off the stage, you guys fight in the air. Like in a comic book. We have to put as many combinations in as possible to deal as much damage as possible. And the person can reverse it. By turning you over and punching you. You can do the same by hitting I think it was X and I keep forgetting what the green button is on the Xbox, but the blue and green button. But other than switching around some specific commands for special moves, for signature moves, it's pretty much the same as the 6th generation Mortal Kombat. And lots of the characters have gained special maneuvers. One thing I like, the original, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, and I'm going to be talking about this in the video. The original Mortal Kombat's 1 through trilogy, when it comes to gameplay, they have not aged well. When it comes to graphics, they've aged well better than most games, but when it comes to gameplay, they have not aged well. Everybody had the same, everybody for the most part had the same fighting style, despite the fact that was supposed to be shot with live action actors. Everyone had the same fighting style. It was repetitive and not realistic. The combat system in the original has not aged well. The combat system didn't become good until Mortal Kombat 4. And in this game, one thing I like, all the characters have their own specific style. They actually fight like their characters, so you're not just fighting pretty much like in the old Mortal Kombat. You're not just fighting against the same character with a different actor or skin color. No, you're fighting their characters. They actually fight like their fighting styles. Joker, whom I hated playing as in the DC story mode. Joker is the worst fighter in the game. Everybody, the Mortal Kombat characters, they have better martial arts and combat skills, whereas the DC characters have have better superpowers, have better powers, and their combos are not as good as are not as good as the Mortal Kombat characters, with the exception of Deathstroke, Catwoman, and Batman, who of course are expert martial artists and fighters too, and so yeah, all the characters play like they're supposed to be. No same attacks, which is one reason I think they went for a smaller roster. The roster is pretty much Liu Kang, Sonya, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Raiden, Kano. Quan Chi appears in story mode, but I don't think he's playable. Shao Kahn is not it. Shao Kahn, who is unlocked when you defeat the Mortal Kombat story, and of course Shang Tsung, and of course Shao Kahn fused with Darkseid becomes Dark Khan, the final boss of the story mode, and the traditional arcade mode. Then of course you have the DC side: Superman, Batman, Deathstroke, Green Lantern, The Flash, Catwoman, Joker, Wonder Woman, and Captain Marvel with Darkseid. With Darkseid as the final boss for the DC characters, and of course they also share Dark Khan as a final villain. Dark Khan of course gets fused with Shao Kahn. The story mode is awesome. I'm going to talk more about the story mode in a review of this game, in a narration review of this game. The story mode is the Mortal Kombat one is my favorite. You get to play as all the Mortal Kombat characters with the exception of Quan Chi and Shao Kahn and Kano, who you fight in the story mode, but you don't ever fight as him.
Don't strike me as a nice person.
And the Mortal Kombat story actually feels like the Mortal Kombat movies from back in the 90s with the DC characters added. And the DC story mode, wow, I don't like the DC story mode is fun, but not as fun as the Mortal Kombat story mode. I don't get a lot of Green Lantern time, but the story mode, the story itself is awesome. It's the Justice League movie. It's the Justice League movie I wanted. The Justice League movie I wanted with the DC, with the Mortal Kombat characters added, and the whole thing feels like one DC Elseworld comic, which is what Mortal Kombat vs. DC was. Of course, the voice acting is good. The game is very humorous, and it's just one of the best games of all time. But it was overlooked when it came out, and it's really underappreciated. It's completely overshadowed by Mortal Kombat 2011 and the upcoming Mortal Kombat X. But I thought this was better than 2011. I'm going to be ranting on 2011. But yeah, this right here was just an awesome video game. Right here. The only other flaw I have, besides the fact there isn't any sequels with more characters, is that there's not really much to do in the video game apart from arcade mode, traditional arcade mode, the story modes, and you have a combo challenge mode, but no survival mode, no tournament mode, no survival or endurance mode, no tournament mode, so yeah, no endurance mode, no any of that. That's the only flaw. Not many modes, not many much to do in the game except do the same thing over and over again. But this game right here is the most awesome, one of the most awesome games in the world. And I'm gonna be reviewing it in a narration. We're talking more about the story and stuff. All right, dog out.